Very good evening, everyone. My name is Matt. I'm an operations assistant here at Nature Trek. I also do a bit of tour leading as well. Now, prior to joining Nature Trek this time last year, and what a year it was, I was very fortunate to have set foot on all 7 continents on Earth before the age of 30. And this time last year in February, I was equally fortunate to spend a month in Nepal. And whilst there, I was staggered by just how diverse the landscape and habitat was, but also the wildlife that goes alongside it. So hopefully tonight I'll be able to show you the finest Nepalese wildlife you can see. So where is Nepal? There it is there, sandwiched between China to the north and India to the south. And how do we get there? Well, it's a 13-hour journey. That's 13, not 30. It's a Qatar Airways flight, London to Kathmandu via Doha. Now, as you look at the map there of Nepal, you see the northern half is extremely rugged, and these are the foothills and the mountains of the Himalaya. And in the south of the country, the darker areas, these are the lowlands, and that is where we spend the majority of our tours. We have 12 dedicated tours to Nepal, and the majority of these are spent in the lowlands. Now, we do offer many pre or post-tour extensions to Nepal, namely Kathmandu, slightly further west to the city of Pokhara, and then even further west to the southwest corner of Suklafanta National Park. And here is where we also co-own a lodge, that's Suklafanta Camp, and we also own another lodge in the southeast corner called Koshi Camp. Now, Nepal is of course home to many exciting mammals, including the Bengal tiger, the sloth bear, and the Indian one-horned rhino. Now, there are also snow leopards in Nepal, but these are very few and far between and are, of course, very high up in the Himalaya. There are also a plethora of antelopes and primates that also reside in the lowlands. Now, currently, there are 886 species of birds that have been observed in Nepal. That's a staggering number, but only one of those is endemic, so it's only found in Nepal, and that is the spiny babbler. Now, I think it'd be criminal to move on without showing you Nepal's national bird, and that is the Himalayan monal. Now, if you do like to see these birds, you will have to fetch your walking poles and your hiking boots and trek up to around 10,000 feet where these spectacular birds reside. Now, all of our tours, they start off in the city of Kathmandu, and here's where we offer that pre-tour extension. Now, you can have a day or even up to 2 days to explore this city that is steeped in culture and history. And it's also a wonderful place to start your bird list. As you can see, there's a feral pigeon flying by. Now, this is part of the old city. As you can see, there's quite a bit of scaffolding around, and that is due to the earthquake that happened in 2015. But as we look slightly further back, those are the foothills of the Himalaya. Now, there's 2 tours I'm going to talk about this evening, and 2 of our most popular Nepalese tours. That is bird watching in Nepal and the tigers of Chitwan and Bardia National Park. And the first day of our bird watching in Nepal tour will be spent in these foothills just behind. Now, these foothills are covered in swathes of forest and are the perfect wintering areas for many Himalayan breeders. And the single track that leads up to the summit of Mount Pulchowki, which is at around 8,000 feet, so not too high, so no need to worry about altitude sickness. This is where we will spend our first day, and the birding begins straight from the off at the entrance gate at the bottom. It's roughly a 45-minute journey from the city of Kathmandu, so not too far at all. And expect to see and almost certainly hear first the great barbet. Now, these birds are in high numbers in the lower elevations, and as I said, you will hear these first, but it shouldn't be too long before you obtain views such as this. Now, another barbet, the golden-throated barbet, these are found slightly higher up, and these Himalayan specialists can be found all the way from Nepal to the far east in Thailand. Now, as we head up that single track up to the summit of Mount Pulchowki, in our vehicle, we won't let you walk up, it's about 15 kilometers, so be rest assured. We start to see many flowering bushes and trees, and this is where the sunbirds start to be seen. And there are 3 species on the mountain. There's the black-throated, there's this one here, the green-tailed, but no doubt the most vibrant is the fire-tailed sunbird. Now again, these are all Himalayan specialists, ranging the same as the golden-throated barbet. Now we do offer a bird watching in Nepal tour in March, and if you wish to see a fire-tailed sunbird such as this plumage here, which I'm sure you do, then March is the time to see it. Now, as we head further up into the mid-level of the mountain, we start to come across many mixed species flocks, and within these flocks, expect to see the black-eared shrike babbler, and also this cartoon character-like long-tailed broadbill. Now, the broadbills, they form their own flocks within the mixed species, but they are extremely shy and wary, so we have to be extremely lucky to see this bird. But once you set eyes on this beauty, it is extremely memorable. Now, it's not, of course, all the birds in the trees, it's the birds on the ground as well. And Nepal is very famous for its pheasants. Now, this one here is the Karlige pheasant. They are quite common on Pulchowki, and you'll often hear them rummaging around on ground level amongst the leaves. Now, of course, as we head further up, the views start to open up as the trees become slightly sparser. Here, you can just about make out the city of Kathmandu, just below the lovely layer of smog. But straight in the background, you again have the Himalaya. Now, on the upper reaches of the mountain, this will be our #1 target bird to see. This is the Himalayan cutia. Now, they very much resemble the pittas of Southeast Asia. However, these are in trees, but are often seen bouncing along tree branches and up tree trunks. So very much like nuthatches in this country, but a spectacular bird nonetheless. Now, sticking with our bird watching in Nepal tour, the next day we will catch a 1-hour flight down to the southeast corner of the country to an area called Koshi. Now, I do recommend that on the flight you choose the left-hand side, as on very clear days you can normally see Mount Everest. So, Koshi Tapu Wildlife Reserve. Now, this was established as a reserve back in 1976 to protect the last remaining population of Asiatic water buffalo. There have been a staggering 486 species of bird on the reserve, including several endangered species, including the brittle grassbird, the Bengal florican, and Indian courser. Now, mammals comprise of water buffalo, the blue boar, and the highly elusive fishing cat. It's also the most reliable site on the subcontinent to see the Gangetic River dolphin. And here is said dolphin. Now, on our first afternoon or evening at Koshi, we will go to a barrage which splits the river Koshi. And from here, we expect to see the dolphin, and it shows very well as the fish often get trapped up against the barrage. And this is where we can get views such as this. So this is not an abnormal view. Now, I did mention Koshi Camp. Please don't be put off by the word camp or tented accommodation. This is luxury camping at its finest. And the accommodation across Nepal is absolutely superb. So please don't be put off by the sight of this. But as you can see, these grounds are absolutely spectacular. And from your accommodation, you can expect to see a plethora of birds, including the greater cuckoo, which often come down and feed on the bird tables here set up by the local guides. Now, overhanging branches or exposed branches are very good places to see bee-eaters, and this is the chestnut-headed bee-eater, and also expect to see the very common green bee-eaters as well. Now, we tend to spend roughly 2 or 3 days at Koshi. I only have time to go through one of those days. So here it is. Our first morning, we will head about half hour up the road, where we would be meted by this Zodiac type vessel. And here we will slowly meander downstream, observing the abundance of wildlife that can be seen on the sandbanks on either side of the river. So it's a very relaxing journey. Now, small praticals are probably the commonest bird you would expect to see along here. This tern-like bird breed in very high numbers on the sandbanks, And in my eyes, these are the most charismatic species in the whole of Asia. They're absolutely superb. And it's probably a good time to mention that these are all my photos that were taken last year when I was in Nepal. And there we go, another small pratincow. I expect to see many egrets. Of course, in Asia where there's water, there's egrets every time. And ruddy shell ducks are just one of many species of wildfowl that also use the river. Now up above, amongst the many vultures that you'll be seeing, expect to see many eagles as well. This is a booted eagle, a dark morph. And you also get short-toed eagles and Benelli's eagles as well. And slightly smaller of the buzzards, this is a white-eyed buzzard. Now just look at that white eye, what a spectacular bird. And these are fairly common across Koshi. Now halfway down the river, we will jump ship onto the sandbanks where there are no breeding birds, and we will start to walk out across the swathes of flat grasslands. And this is where we expect to see many critically endangered species, one of which is the Indian courser. Now these birds, they prefer the short grasses, but are becoming extremely endangered due to wildlife grazing, etc. But at Koshi, of course, they are protected, the areas are protected. So this is where we would expect to see the Indian courser, and what a superb bird it is as well. Now, another specialist of this area and the southwest corner of Nepal is the Bengal florican. Now, Nepal is without doubt the best country to see this critically endangered bird. And the best time to see it is around February or March, when all the grasses have been cut. So if you wish to see this excellent bird, get on our bird watching in Nepal tour and head out there for February and March. Now, after this exciting river journey, we'll head back to the grounds where we have a very hefty lunch. Trust me, there are no small portions in Nepal. You'll be extremely happy with the food there. And like all the other countries mentioned this evening, we cater for all sorts as well. Now, just by the lodge grounds is this very nice lake. Expect to see pied and stalk-billed kingfishers here, cormorants, beaters, etc. All within very easy reach of the camp. Now for the afternoon of this same day, we will be walking along this track, this tarmac track, which is roughly 2 miles long, and it's within walking distance from Koshi camp, so there's not much traveling at all. And this is where we would expect to see a load of Himalayan species that winter in Koshi, but also it's a spectacular area to see owls. And I kid you not, in a single afternoon and evening, you can expect to see at least 6 species of owl. And that is because the local guides we have at Koshi know exactly where to find them. However, going back to the migrants, so this is a spectacular Siberian ruby throat, a male showing off that beautiful throat patch there. Now to the owls, as I mentioned earlier, expect to see up to 6, you could even see 7 within Koshi and even within the camp. This is an Asian barred owlet. It's a diurnal owl, so they hunt during the day. And this is a brown hawk owl. And now, as you can see by the eyes, this is clearly a nocturnal owl. And again, you would need the use of our guides to see this spectacular owl roosting during the day. Jungle owlets, they are very common across the area, no problem there. But this is our #1 target, the brown fish owl. Again, this is a nocturnal owl. You can tell by those very large eyes. And this is our #1 bird, or #1 owl at least, for the Koshi area. Now, of course, it's not all about the birds, is it? There are plenty of mammals as well that reside here. This is probably the commonest, the golden jackal. Slightly smaller and far cuter is the Bengal fox. Expect to see these across the short grasses. You can often see their dens, which is a bit of a giveaway to their presence. The blue bull is a range restricted species, one that Andy showed just now. Again, Koshi is a very good area to see this antelope. But probably the most sought after around Koshi is the fishing cat. Now, that small lake I showed you just now, just by Koshi camp, most mornings you can see fresh footprints around the side of the lake. So if you do wish to see this bird, I would suggest take a torch and some caffeine and you may just get lucky by doing a night watch by the lake. Okay, and that is our time at Koshi. Hope you enjoyed that. Rather rapid, but there we go. I'm now going to take you to Chitwan National Park. Now, this is also part of our bird watching in Nepal tour, but also our tigers of Chitwan and Bardia National Park. So Chitwan, this was the first national park to be established in Nepal back in 1973. It's home to 68 species of mammal, and of course, including the densest population of Bengal tiger. There have been a staggering 584 species of birds that have been recorded in the park, including many globally threatened species. And due to the size of the park, but the low tourist numbers, on a single Jeep safari, you would see very few tourists at all, which creates a very, very bespoke experience. Now, there are many accommodations that are scattered along the northern edge of the park, and all are as pristine as one another. So I'm just going to show you a small example of accommodation here. Such beautiful rooms, lovely balconies, and absolutely gorgeous views as well. Now, especially this one, here you can go down of an afternoon, evening with your beer, your wine, etc., and just observe the abundance of wildlife that splits the north side of the park, sorry, the north side of the river to the south side where the park actually is. This is the River Rapti, and you can just see there above the left-hand bench, there's a marsh crocodile just lounging around in the water, cooling down from the hot day. And the other wildlife that you would expect to see from this very balcony are Indian one-horned rhinos and the critically endangered gharial. This incredible reptile is very range restricted and endemic to the subcontinent. Another marsh crocodile there. And the Indian rock pythons are also quite prolific along the rivers, and they tend to stick to the islands where there's less humans or less cattle, etc. Now into Chitwan National Park, and of course this is where people come to see the Bengal tiger. Now, tigers in Nepal are extremely hard to see. As you can see, the understory here is very dense, and so any sighting of a tiger in this country is memorable and extremely sought after. Now, as we are driving around the park, sloth bears can be encountered. And there are also many birds of the area. This is a red-headed trogon. And oriental pined hornbills can also be found with relative ease, but it's their larger cousin, the great hornbill, that we would hope to see. You often hear these before you see them, as they crash around the treetops, or their large wings create a lovely noise just above the canopy as they fly past. A truly spectacular bird. But of course, it is all about the tigers. I know. So this is my experience. This time last year, I was on a recce trip in Nepal for Nature Trek, and I only had one evening to observe Bengal tigers. That's if I did at all. So this was roughly 2 hours before fresh tiger prints. So I was getting much closer. But anyway, I just want to briefly touch on the tiger situation in Nepal. Now, in the past decade, there has been major conservation efforts to increase the wild tiger population in Nepal. In 2009, the population was 121 individuals. However, in 2018, it rose to a staggering 235. Now, this is all due to conservation of the national parks. Around 8,000 troops have been and will continue to be deployed to the areas where the tigers reside. And although the Indian tiger population is unmatched, now and future years will be as good as time as any to see a tiger in Nepal. And this was my experience this day last year. And it just goes to show that these conservation efforts are working. So this is a family of 4. We've got 3 cubs, 1 on the left, and 2 next to the adult female. And this was a memorable experience, completely unexpected. I had one evening to see a tiger, and I ended up seeing 4. And all the local guides had never seen 4 animals together. So there we go. What time are we on? Okay, so that's Chitwan National Park. I hope I've whet your appetite there. I've just got a brief few minutes just to move on to a post-tour extension. I really wanted to mention this area, which is a post-tour extension above the city of Pokhara. And this is where we stay. This is Tiger Mountain Pokhara Lodge. And it's set above the city of Pokhara. So if you look west, you look over the city. But if you look north, you view the mighty Himalaya. And you can also view it from this very swimming pool. Now, the owner of this lodge is a butterfly enthusiast. And if you want to learn about the butterflies of Nepal, the owner, who is Marcus Cotton, will happily show you the many butterflies that reside at this very site. And there we go. You can end your superb wildlife holiday in Nepal, overlooking the mighty Himalaya. And that mountain in the center of that is the fishtail, the famous fishtail mountain. So that's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. If you do have any questions that you don't think of at the moment, please email me personally at matt@naturetrek.co.uk. However, for now, I am going to pass you back to Sarah. Thank you very much.